I'm I'm just giddy still with excitement from earlier this morning, the news of Pochettino inking the deal to be the next USMNT head coach. And as the news outlets, the news media catches up and starts putting out more content announcing that it's pretty much a done deal, and you're starting to see a lot more information, more detailed information coming out as to just what kind of fit he is for this US team. And several let's call them pundits or soccer media guys on Fox and on ESPN, I know on YouTube as well, some of our brothers and sisters actually out there on YouTube talking about what Pochettino could bring tactically to this particular group, and how this young nucleus of talent that we have, what he will be able to do to basically get them to punch above their weight. One of the things that I haven't seen just yet, and this is the biggest key for me in how this is going to translate to making the locker room, making this particular team believe that they can do things that they have never done before. And that's basically having a leader in the clubhouse now that they believe can get them through difficult times. That when they're in those matches, outmatched by teams skill-wise like Brazil, like Colombia, like Uruguay, England, that they now have a coach that they know isn't intimidated, isn't, let's just say, not necessarily, I don't want to say Greg Berhalter was confused, but you know that they're going to go into situations like this where they're playing teams that are above them skillfully. That as much as these players love, most of them, let's just say, most of these players loved Greg Berhalter and the relationship they had with them. You can't tell me that in the middle of these games, when times get tough, and we saw it several times, where things got tough, that this particular team does not have that leadership on the field, nor do they have it on the sideline. And how important is this to have somebody like Pochettino come in to where, you know, he has seen the best of the best. He has been in those situations. And you know, when you go into a game, let's just say Panama, and you go down a man, which that's going to be a whole nother topic we get to talk about down the road and how we all got here. I if you haven't yet, I send Mr. Weah, just send him a drink for me, will you? But anyways, the amount of confidence that the players can have now, that when times get tough, and we're using, let's say, that Panama game where we go down a man, and everybody was talking through the game how kind of confused and running around like a chicken with their heads cut off. That they kind of lacked a, not necessarily a discipline, but this attitude that, you know what, we can face the adversity. We have a plan, and this is how we're going to do it. This team does not have that on the field. As much as a lot of people like to point and say, okay, well, Christian Pulisic is that guy. He's not. He's probably the most talented of the players, but he's not one of those leaders. Not that kind of leader. Tyler Adams, maybe, but when you're not healthy and you're not playing, you don't have an effect. Tyler Adams could be, maybe, at least of the players on the field. Now, with Pochettino coming in, you have somebody to where everybody can look to the man, and you take from him when you're in those tough games, and you're like, he's got a plan. I don't know if the players necessarily took that from Berhalter when he was here. Are you telling me when they're in those tight games, when they're in those really important games outside of Mexico, the Mexico games, but when you're in those really tough games, that they actually had the confidence that their manager is going to put them in a position to succeed? They may like him. They may like the relationship that they had with him. But just think about this in real life terms. Over the years, you've probably, like myself, have been in situations to where either you're the guy who everybody looks towards in times of like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And you just kind of take care of the situation calmly. You have a plan, and everybody kind of follows along with that, whether that's at work or at home. You're a coach. I used to coach soccer for 20 years. Your team picks up on the personality of the manager, of the person in charge, of the leader on the field. Do you think that they had that with Greg Berhalter? He may be great on the side with life lessons and life skills, teaching about the brotherhood behind the scenes. Who knows? All we know is that he was building a culture that a lot of them bought into and a lot of them were in favor of, and they talked about it. And we have to give him credit for that. But when you're in the middle of these games, these matches to where things are getting a little out of hand, or you need to come back, you need that one goal, you need to lock down that other team. When things really counted and the time is ticking and everybody's getting stressed out, do you think Berhalter was that guy? And he's not. And this is the greatest thing right now that I can think of that Pochettino brings is this aura. He's kind of this Zen master of, and I'm not saying he's like a Phil Jackson Zen master, but I'm saying he's one to where guys know that he knows what he's doing. It may not be the perfect strategy. It may not even work with this group of players. Who knows? It'll be exciting to see. But at least you know that he's going to take charge and he's going to have his plan in place. That's the biggest takeaway that I have in something like this. This is why we needed a big name coach to come in, to give them the confidence to go into these matches knowing that as hard as they're going to work out there, that you have somebody on your side that's in charge, that's coming up with a plan to make you competitive. They're going to put you into situations where you can compete and you can win. And I don't know necessarily if Berhalter was that guy. I don't know necessarily right now that the U.S. has anybody in the coaching ranks that could do that on a world stage at which we're looking at World Cup 2026. Maybe Jesse Marsch, but this team, I think, needed somebody bigger than Marsch. Pochettino's the biggest personality of everybody in that locker room. He is the guy. That's not a guarantee that everything's going to work out. But you know that somebody's in charge, somebody's going to lead the way. He's got the right attitude to do it. This is going to be exciting, and it's going to put the fire to the feet of some of these players. This is going to be interesting to watch.